Hi Scorpio, welcome to your April 2019 relationship reading. This reading is intended for people who are in relationships that are struggling and are looking for some sort of message, perhaps to come through regarding what to do next. So the first card I get is the Tower. The second card is the Devil. The third card is the Nine of Swords. Usually I don't announce each card, but I just thought those first three cards were pretty heavy. I wouldn't expect anything less from or for a Scorpio. Okay. So the heart of the matter is the Tower card. And this may be dealing with the aftermath of some kind of an unpleasant discovery that has been revealed. Usually in relationships, I think of finding out that your partner has been cheating. That's the big one. And as terrible as that may be, it's at least a relief in the sense that you know what you're dealing with. With Scorpio, if this is something that happens to you, my feeling is that a lot of you, because you are so insightful or downright psychic, is that you already knew. It's not like a revelation to you. It's just confirmation, right? And yet it can still feel like a blow. It can still feel like a surprise. The Tower card is basically the universe's way of shaking up the status quo and you know, keeping us from being in this constant state of inertia when we know that we need to do something. Okay, so even if something like that happens, which is probably Scorpio's worst nightmare, somebody cheating on you. That's why Scorpio tends to be so suspicious, to try to head it off at the pass. You might, you know, clutch pearls and act like, oh my God, I can't believe it. And yet that's kind of like always been lurking in the back of your mind. What if this person cheated? And then you find out that they have. Well, sometimes I think that can be a self-fulfilling prophecy. When people are too afraid of something happening in life, then guess what? It shows up. And it's one possible interpretation of that is to say, you know what? It's not the end of the world. Even your worst fear is still, you're still here, and it hasn't destroyed you. You may have even wanted to leave the relationship yourself. And now that you found out that this person is cheating, it's like all of a sudden you're like upset about it rather than saying, good, then I don't have to be the bad guy. We can just say, hey, you know what? Let's call it a day, right? And really, these Tower moments allow change to happen when the parties are not willing to do it on their own. I mean, that's the bottom line of what it represents. And so it's important, that's why it is so important for people to be the one to make change in their life and to take the initiative and not to allow themselves to stay in a situation too long that obviously is not good for you. In the past position, we have the Devil card. There you go. And you see the chains. The reason that they illustrate it that way is to show the bondage that the people feel. Now, the nudity is to kind of illustrate lust. But it could be, you know, for some people, it could be materialism, over-materialism. For other people, I think those are the two big ones, like lust and a materialistic life. But it could, you know, I suppose there could be other temptations, you know, like addictions and things like that. And the point is that what it's saying is that maybe the relationship wasn't that deep to begin with. Maybe it was kind of based on shallow things. What popped into my head was tit for tat. One person brought their looks, their beauty, and the other person brought the wallet. Or if it wasn't that crass, if it was a little bit more sophisticated, it could simply be that there was a strong sexual chemistry, but there wasn't a lot else going for the relationship. So it was really one-dimensional. The higher message is the Nine of Swords, which is a card of anxiety. This is, you know, up at night, insomnia. Sometimes readers will point out that the blanket has flowers on it, so it means that the person is making mountains out of molehills and that they're anxious about something that they don't need to be. But I mean, yes, and it's like kind of these fears that are not really evidenced in reality. But I would say that the Nine of Swords as a spiritual message is telling you that any relationship that creates anxiety within you is a toxic relationship. So if that's something that you experienced even before the Tower moment, then you already were in this situation that was not healthy. So rather than lament about a sudden revelation or maybe a sudden break in the relationship, be glad that you're going to not be involved with somebody that you feel that sense of anxiety around. And so you look at it as a good thing rather than, oh my gosh, you know, we're not together anymore and this is terrible, because it's really a long time coming, and yet you may still have feelings for this person, but that person may have caused you already a lot of angst, a lot of pain, maybe just outright pain, and you still feel this pull towards them, perhaps, but it's not necessarily in your best interest to continue to be connected to such an individual. What crosses you is represented by the Nine of Pentacles. So I'm reading this in the challenge position. The Nine of Pentacles, like as a reversed card, could be somebody who is not managing their money properly. Maybe they are, I think that could even be like a gold digger type of an individual. And again, you know, going back to that Devil card, perhaps you're with somebody who has given you a great lifestyle. And, you know, the chickens have come home to roost because it wasn't anything other than this kind of a conspicuous consumption type of a lifestyle. And now maybe you weren't even working at the time. And I'm not saying that a Scorpio person is a gold digger, but perhaps you didn't have to work because this person was very generous and providing you with everything, and yet you had to kind of sell your soul to be in this relationship. I don't know how many people are going to identify with this, because it doesn't seem like a common scenario. But if you take away some of the obvious, like, examples that you might come up with when you're thinking of, like, Hollywood, like celebrities or something like that, and just think of two people that get together and one person just happens to have, make a good living and offer the other person a nice life. And maybe that person didn't grow up with very much, and so that really means a lot to them to have that kind of a lifestyle. Then that can be as simple as it is. It doesn't have to be some famous person or have to do with millions of dollars. It could just be a step above where you have been. And it might not be that you are some kind of a conniving individual that really was looking for somebody with money and things like that, but it just happened to come into your reality and you went along with it. And what you found out was that there's no substitute for love in a relationship, that you thought maybe money was the most important thing. Because I've heard people make statements like that. Like there's that statement where they say, I've been poor and I've been rich, and rich is better. Or you can fall in love with a rich man just as easy as you can with a poor man. I don't know. There's, these things, and people say these things, and I guess they're trying to be funny, but that they really believe it too. And I often think to myself, when people make statements about money that try to put money as the most important thing, if they really understand that that simply is not true. Just from being on YouTube now for almost 4 years, I can tell you that when I do private readings, probably love readings are number one, and that shocks me because I would think it would be more like career, money, things like that, kind of like what we're talking about right now. No, it is love because it's the most elusive thing. It's easier to manipulate the universe to get money than it is to have true love. And I always say that, I really believe that. But you might, there might be some kind of a thing where you don't have the ability to support yourself, and that is another reason why you have stayed in this relationship. What's coming in is the Wheel of Fortune, so, wow, so getting that money, getting, a turn in your, what's that phrase, a turn in luck, or a switch in luck. Oh gosh, I can't think of the, when you get on a lucky streak, something can happen, Scorpio. Oh, you know what? Jupiter is associated with this card, and guess what house Jupiter is in? It's in Sagittarius, so it's in your second house of earned income. So you are able to take care of yourself. And if you are not employed, if you try to be employed, you probably will have a very good chance of getting a position and being able to be self-supporting and therefore being independent. And that you may like, if you've been in this relationship for a very long time, you may not have any idea how you're going to be able to do it, but you find out that, hey, I can do it after all, I thought I was completely, dependent on this other person. And even though this relationship has been causing me anxiety, I felt like I had to be here. And you realize, no, actually, I don't have to be here. I actually can take care of myself, and it feels really good. And the outcome is the King of Pentacles. This is another card that is associated with, you know, being financially in control of your life. But also, I would say this is about being very grounded, so very practical. Maybe you have been neglecting your own career and your aspirations, and maybe you're developing plans for your life, Scorpio, so that you can do what you want to do. With the Nine of Swords, if somebody in a relationship has been causing you anxiety, that may have spilled over into other aspects of your life. And so you may have, you know, when people get anxious, it's hard for them to concentrate. It's hard for them to do what they need to do in their life that is separate from the relationship. Maybe it causes you to obsess about the relationship. So now it's like, to me, the Tower card is like this agent, not only of change, but of freeing you up from the tyranny of a relationship that has been suffering for a long time. And that can be that could be a blessing in disguise, okay? So even if you have been feeling this sense of like, oh my God, you know, what am I going to do now? There may be, in the next thought, this feeling of alignment, this feeling of like, wow, everything is starting to flow now in my life. And I'm grateful for it. You know, I thought it was a bad thing at the time, but it turned out to be a blessing in disguise. So that's what I have for you, Scorpio. If you'd like something more personalized, based on your natal chart, for instance, please check out my offerings at rainandmoonastrology.com. I have a link below to that site. And I wish you a great April. Take care. Bye.